Hello and welcome to another Mr. Betabyte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at a Sanyo VTC5000. Now these machines were about the cheapest machine you could buy in its day. That's taking VHS into account as well. It was an incredibly cheap machine, and I will actually dig out a book that I have back from the sort of early 80s that lists all the current machines that were available in the UK at that time, and we'll check that out. I've seen numerous references to this being the cheapest machine, so yeah, let's check it out. But this is a great machine, really. It really brought beta to the masses, even though, of course, we all know Betamax sort of didn't last as long as VHS. I will say I have slight issues when people say that Betamax lost the war. It didn't actually really lose the war, in my opinion. It's just things changed. Sony had moved on to 8mm. 8mm as a video format, domestic machine-wise, wasn't very popular, although the machines are great, absolutely fantastic machines. But as a camcorder format, I think it pretty well won the war there, and was a great format. Betamax, I mean, they sold a lot of machines worldwide, and it did go on to about 2002 with sort of really high-end machines, but also basic machines as well. I featured a Betamax Japanese version, very basic machine, which was a great machine, really, compared to the cheap and cheerful VHS equivalents. Really great. So anyway, I digress. I really do rate these, even though they're not probably as good as the Sony equivalent in many ways, just because of the way the signal is processed. Very slight differences in the circuitry that make the overall end result just that bit better from a Sony machine, and also the functions as well. Sony tend to put more sort of functionality even into their basic machines. But yeah, a great machine nonetheless. And one of the big things with these machines, especially as tapes get older, is that in rewind and fast forward, the tape is not laced. And that is a big thing because, yes, you haven't got the wear against the drums, but the other thing as well is that if you've got a tape that's a little bit dodgy, maybe a little bit contaminated, this machine, because it winds the tape back into the shell for the rewind fast forward, you're not introducing extra additional tape debris onto the heads, and that in this day and age is actually quite a big thing. So if you're archiving tapes, these machines are probably a good one to consider. They really are pretty tough. They do have power supply problems. The SDK chips can cause issues. There's a couple of power supply caps that also cause issues, mainly from the heat generator from the SDK. And so this machine I bought from someone who's actually clearing out an old TV and video repair shop, and it's from the same place. You can probably just about make out the VTC10 that I'm working on as well. It's in a separate video, and this is from the same place. So it's pretty tidy. It's got some scratches, but it has also been in a damp atmosphere. So you can see there, the bottom is very, very rusty. Now, this isn't a huge concern insofar as, like with the M10, these base metal sections are very poorly galvanized, and they're very thin metal as well. So they do really rot. I mean, this has got some serious rust in it, to be fair. You can see bits of rust dropping off. The screws rusty there. But I'm not that concerned by that, especially as it's a fairly tidy machine otherwise. And I've had it a while, so any excess moisture would have evaporated away. It's really hot up here where I do this work. So yeah, without further ado, let's crack on. So I think the first thing is to have a look at the machine itself. Now, obviously it's come from a TV and video repair place, so it could well be that it's got bits missing, could have been worked on, anything's possible. My guess, quite honestly, is it's probably going to be another power supply fault, similar to the M10. But that's just me really guessing. So yeah, Rubicon caps, it's all looking fairly okay. Doesn't look like anything's really tampered with. So let's remove the head cover. So this is actually looking really very tidy. Apart from the fact that it has obviously seen condensation and moisture, it's not bad. Now, let's have a look here. We've got the infamous idler, which only has to have a slight amount of wear before it starts eating tapes, depending on whether it's had a modification fitted. There's actually a modification for these. You may well, if you know these decks, you'll know that if they fault, they will lace the tape when they fault. So if it's winding and it sort of stops for whatever reason, like the idler's slipping or whatever, it will lace the tape. And then, of course, you have to eject it. So you eject the tape, and because the idler's dodgy, it leaves the tape in, and then it ruins the tape, which is crazy. So there is actually a modification, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I remember reading about it not that long ago, so yeah, I have to try and research that. But there is a modification to stop that from happening, so it just stops. It doesn't lace the tape. So yeah, we'll look at that hopefully, if not in this video, in a future video, because I will have to try and research that. The other thing that's really cool with these is obviously the sensor, because it's putting the tape in. The sensor in like a Sony arrangement then would never touch or be able to touch, wouldn't be close enough to pick up the magnetic part, the metal part of the tape. So this actually swings in and out depending on whether the tape's loaded or not to pick up the magnetic section of the beginning or end, or beginning of the tape. So that's really cool. So I suppose we need to power this on and see what it does. Now, same situation, no plug and a mucky mains lead, so I'm going to clean this up, stick a plug on, and we'll give it a test. Okay, so new mains plug put on, clean the lead, cleaned a few other bits and pieces as well. It's actually quite tidy, to be fair. So while I was just sort of checking out the machine, I just thought I'd just turn the heads, and you can hear we've got some resistance there. Now this does ring a bell with me. If I push down, I can sort of get rid of it. But anyway, we'll power it up. We'll give it a test. I wouldn't be surprised it's damp that's caused that, but we'll see. Well, that's a good start. Oh, that is a good start. Okay, so the belts seem okay, but those heads do not sound good. Yeah. Yeah, so it's jammed. So, well, that's a start. There's obviously something not nice going on there. So, and of course, it doesn't run the heads for rewind and fast forward. I think that's actually on the top. I can see like some corrosion there. So I think the next thing to do, everything else seems alright. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced there's some corrosion on the side of there. You can see there's corrosion all around here as well. So I think the next thing is take this upper drum off and have a look. Okay, so it's sort of what I thought. Taking the drum off, I did actually take the screw out completely from here, but you don't need to. It's just a standard screw. It's not like the Sonys that have the Allen screw. But you don't need to remove it completely. You can just slacken it right off and lift it out. 2 screws here, and then there's a third screw which holds on this assembly here. So you do need to remove that, and this bit as well. It's on the top there. This is really mucky, so that needs to be sorted. But the bearings themselves are good. It's great. What I think is happening, I thought there was some contamination, but I can't actually see that now. Maybe taking the upper drum off has moved that. But the thing I'm worried about is the coils themselves. This material here, I just wonder if it's swelled with being in the damp. The glue looks okay, so the coils are not proud at all. So no, can be an issue with some of these sort of rotary transformers. But yeah, I think what I'll do is give it a jolly good clean up and try it again. It's obviously not not perfect. Yeah. Cleaned it all up and all underneath as well. Put it all back together, and I do, unsurprisingly, I still do have slight problems with scraping between the transformers. So I've downloaded the manual, and it basically says if I turn the 3 Allen screws in the top here by about 30 degrees counterclockwise. And this just feels a bit wrong. There we go. That has solved it. That has solved the problem. Good. So that is a 1.3, I think that's right, 1.3 millimeter Allen key you need for that. So that's great. So the next thing, I'm going to take this pinch roller off, and I'm going to give it a jolly good clean. So I seem to remember there's a spring here somewhere. There's also a little, whoops, washer. Yeah, there's a spring. This machine is a bit odd, even though it is in a bit of a state, or was. It's actually in really good condition. I mean, the pinch roller, now I've cleaned it up, and the bearings are good. It's barely seen any use. I mean, it's had some use, but it's like new, and it's almost like the machine was laid up. Or maybe it wasn't collected or something, or I don't know. It's just really odd. It's like it's been laid up, having been oh, I got that spring wrong. Having been repaired. So interesting. I'm not doing this very well. That's on. And get this clip on, which is always fun if you haven't got the proper tool, which I haven't. There we go, let's press that on. So next thing is to give it a test, I suppose. Okay, so I think we're in tape in. I mean, there's not a lot of, yeah, see what happens when it errors. I always find that hilarious. But that is now fine. Head seemed to be running fine. You see there, the belt there is decidedly not happy, so that'll have to be changed. So yeah, it needs to do the belts, and I should have some. So yeah, we can get that sorted. And I think I have a tyre as well for the idler, which will be fine. The idler looks pretty good, other than probably the tyre is a little bit on the worn side. So yeah, I suppose the next thing is to actually check it with the tape. Okay, so let's give this a try. Yes, winding is not really happening, and of course it's errored, so we'll do that. But let's play. That is a pain, isn't it? Because you can't get out the error mode. Okay, so this picture so far, let's give it, see if we can get something out of it. Right, so we've got a bit of dragging on the old got a bit of dragging there. I don't know whether that's servo fault at this stage or whether it's actually because I haven't done a full clean through of the tape path. It does look a bit tape pathy to me. Let's have a listen. Oh, it doesn't seem to have any sound at all. Yeah, I mean, I would say I've got tape path issues there. So give it a clean, give it a check through. Do need to put some belts on this, so I want to do that as well. So, but yeah, I mean, so far so good. The picture looks all right, doesn't it? And yeah, I think this is going to be a very usable, good machine. So after I recorded that last little segment, testing this on playback, I got looking to the top of this audio control erase head, and it just doesn't look quite right. And then if you look down here, I don't know whether you can see this very well, there is actually a gap between it and the tape. And it's sort of all out of alignment as well. Can we get in? So you can see it's too high. The tape damage is from previous testing. This is a test tape, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it's just completely all over the place, and sort of hitting the edge of the erase head, and not touching the audio control head, which would indicate why there were problems with playback and servo speed and whatever. So let's have a look at that. So let's stop. It's just getting enough torque to actually pull the tape back in, which is great. Oh, you see, not quite. That's fine. So you can see here, this is actually swung too far round. And I don't know, I think I'll have to get a screwdriver. And just see, I've already had a little look at this, it's like there's a brass sort of, goes to like it's a cone, an upside down cone, and the cone goes into that hole. So, or should, I think. So that should, in theory, be enough, but it just seems awfully, like, flimsy, really. So I wonder if there's something else missing, something else has fallen away, or I don't know. I suppose I could have a look at the manual to see if that gives any more clues as to how this is all constructed. There is something missing, but I can't see there's anything missing. I mean, see if this screw is loose. I mean, well, I can adjust it, but it's not loose. And anyway, that wouldn't be enough to actually cause the problem. I mean, that wouldn't cause a problem. Sort of the next layer up, but just intrigued really to see why it would be like that. I don't know. That looks to maybe have been adjusted. See, there's a little bit of something going on the end of that. Yeah, so let's put the tape back in, and let's put the tape back in. Let's play. So that's now running properly against the head. The head is still too high. So I'm just wondering, just do a rough sort of test. Oh gosh, this is really loose. Yeah, so that's been tampered with. So we are getting sound now. So any of the others are tampered with. It's just, yeah, see, that's loose as well. This tape is awful. It's really... So this makes me think, so I use this tape for the C6 as well, and that had all sorts of weird distortion on it. Well, I think it is the tape's bad. Okay, so yeah, well, yes. But just that rough bit of realignment, it's now locking. I've got sound, and that's behaving. So that's brilliant. That's actually great. So very pleased with that. So I suppose the next thing now is to, before we do too much more, is change the belts. They are going to start causing me real problems if I don't change them. So yeah, let's do that next. So I have the repair kit. This is actually for the Sanyo M10, 11, 20, 21, well, you can see there on the label. And this actually has more in it than I need, but I'll need this tyre, I think that belt, and loading belt as well, and yeah, we should be all good. So access is a little bit tricky, I suppose. What I always used to do was take off the circlip from here, on both sides of the carriage obviously, and then swing this over, and that was good enough. Now, looking at the manual, Sanyo recommended that you take out this one, swing it back, and then you can get to the screws, which are down here. I'm in two minds. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the way I always used to do it. Just because it makes sure that the alignment of the top loading system is correct. I seem to remember you do have to line these up to an extent. It's not a horrible job to do, but it is a bit fiddly because you've got to keep, before you put it all back together or put the clips on, you've got to assemble it, sort of line it up, then disassemble it, or unclip it again, and try and keep it all still so you can get in and tighten the screws. So it's a little bit of a fiddle to do that. So yeah, let's crack on and see if my method from back in the day actually does still work well, or whether I was just messing about and causing myself undue work. So you won't be able to see this, just taking the other side off. It's identical. It's identical on the other side. And take the spring off. Take the spring off. And just free this. Whoop. And there we go. So we've got full access. Don't have to fiddle about with trying to get tweezers in and all the rest of it. I've seen other YouTube videos where you're sort of getting in and trying to fiddle about in here. And it's really hard work to do it that way. So this method, I think, is probably the least high impact way of doing it. One thing worth noting as well, if you're going to take this out, you've got to take what Sanyo call the veil out. And this is literally just one screw and the veil comes out. In fact, let's do it. Let's take the veil off. Let's get a screwdriver and remove that. Just literally the one screw. And that's it. So you can now see everything, get to everything. Obviously you could easily take out the top loading system from there, but I don't need to. Everything's in there, or everything's accessible that I need to get to. I will put a bit of deoxit in there just to be sure that's working. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is give it a clean, and then we'll change some belts. So I've given it a bit of a clean. It's not a thorough clean, but it's just enough just to get it nice. I've also cleaned the switch there, put some deoxit in it. So this is going to be a bit tricky because the camera's sort of a bit in the way. But let's move this clip, which I've immediately lost. Got it. And lift off top section. Then we can remove the belt. Which, as you can see, is pretty, it's pretty well had it. It's actually really dry as well. Then lift off the idler. And there is actually a washer in there that you don't want to lose. So that needs to be in there. And this just pulls apart. And there's another washer there, so don't lose that. Let's take that off. So, and then we've got the tyre here. And let's just get that off. This tyre actually isn't too bad. There we go. So I'll put the new tyre on. This tyre is actually a little bit thicker, so I'm hoping it will be alright. It's the idler tyre is the same on the M10, depending on how things go. I may have the M10 video out first, or this one will go out first. So If you hear me referencing to the M10 video, it'll either have been or it's coming. So yeah, so that's good. Clutch feels good as well. The actual idler assembly itself's good. I do wonder if that has been changed. This machine just doesn't seem very high mileage, high hours. Okay, so I've just given this a bit of a clean. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. So you can see I've kept the washer in there. So let's get this back together. Let's check that is okay. And what I'll probably do, just put the tiniest amount of silicone lubricant on there. Not an ideal way to do it, but I don't want too much on there, so that will have to do. Then just making sure my hands are clean, don't have any grease on them because I don't want to get grease on the rubber. Let's put this back on. Then the washer. Then the cog for the belt. Put the belt on. Ooh, that's twisted. It should, yeah, just find its own way, straighten itself out. And you can see there it's driving well. What's nice is because the new tyre is actually a little bit thicker, it should give more life to the units, extend its life, which is always good. I'm all for that. Then we can see the washer's still on the top there. Put the clutch on. Clutch and the wheel drive for fast forward rewind. Then circlip. Oh, it's going to be fun to do with the camera in the way. So put the circlip on. Oops. That's it, clipped on. So that's all done, and nice job too. So what I will do, I'm just checking the reel tables are okay. Just put a tiny bit of silicone grease in there, and that'll work its way down. Just clean up any mess. I'm not too worried about this creeping too far either on this deck. It should be fine. So there we go, that's done. All that side of the deck is good to go. So let's get the top loading system back in place. And just be a bit careful of the springs. You don't want those getting fouled. They are captive, so I seem to remember this is a bit of a fiddle, but it's not too bad. So that's the one side back on. It does feel like you're doing something horrible, but it's actually fine. It sort of all just falls into place. Put the springs on. Sorts of lots of clicky sounds and things that sound like things are breaking, but they're not. It's absolutely fine. And to be fair, you can actually run these without the circlips on, but of course you don't want to do that. So yes, so let's get the circlip on. And yeah, so I'll probably drop the circlip, which is highly probable. There we go. So do the same the other side and we're all good to go. So a bit of a top tip, and something I remember I did pretty much every time I worked on these machines back in the 90s. And I'd forgotten and I fell for it again. If the top loading system is not actually going down properly and it's fouling the spool on this side, having taken this off, it'll be because, I don't know whether you can see this, it's really difficult, there is a little peg there that goes into a slider here, and this slides or guides the arms or the arm assembly, and this will end up, if you're not careful, the wrong side. So it will go on the other side here of where it should be, and it will push the whole top loading system this way. So if that does happen, just undo the two circlips again, lift it up, and just move the system over so it does actually properly go over that peg as it comes out, and you should be good to go. But yeah, I can't believe I fell for that again. So you can see that's pretty well lined up. I've not disturbed the alignment of the top loading system either, but I've had full access, so that's pretty cool, to be fair. So the next thing is the lacing belt, and this should be fairly straightforward. It's just literally just pick it off. Taking it off is probably a lot easier than putting it on. Wait for it. And again, you can see the belt is really not happy. New belt. I think that should be my one. Maybe. Actually, I think it's this one. So this one. Slightly smaller again. And feed this in, hook it over, make it sound as if it's really simple, which it won't be. And if I say that, hopefully it will be simple. Now, don't worry too much about crossing the belt, because they will self-align. You can see there that belt is actually now sitting properly without any crossing, so that's fine. Brilliant, that's done. So time to have a look underneath, and it's not the happiest of affairs as regards the screws, but yeah, it is what it is, and it's a bit rotten. it's a shame because the actual machine itself is really good. It's probably got years of life left in it, to be fair. It's been at some point in a damp atmosphere, and probably not for that long, maybe, I don't know. I mean, all the capacitors seem good, visual inspection, so I thought that was going to be a difficult one, but it's not. And missed one. See what horrors we have under here. Ooh. Yeah, so the board doesn't look that wonderful, to be fair, but it's it's working. Yeah, so let's get the right screwdriver. So let's get this out, or open rather. Reminds me very much of Panasonic's with the red screws, and I assume those have to come out as well. They're red. I shall clean the board as well. So regardless of what I do with this, it's going to have to be run for a very long time, just for the sake of checking it's reliable. That one that side. I have to see if I can do something with that bottom board as well, the bottom case. So there we go. The underneath. I mean, I have to say, even though the board has suffered some moisture, it's looking fine. But what I will do, I'll check it, I'll give it a clean, and we'll review it. I obviously need to do something with this. This is terrible. It's starting to get second-degree rust. It's starting to really eat away at the metal, so yeah, that'll be fun. So time to get the front off. So and then the 3 screws across the top. And then this should just pull off. And to remove that tracking control knob, which can be quite tough. There we go. And then there's an earth strap, or grounding strap. And there we go, front cover off. And this is actually pretty tidy, to be fair. Let's give this a clean. Clean the LEDs as well, so they look nice. And I will put some deoxit in the tuning section. Probably never be used, but I like things to work. Work that in. You can hear the clicks of the ends. So it's the end stops. Another thing that's worth doing is just with a cotton wool bud, Q-tip, just cleaning backs of the LED sections, just makes them nice and bright. So I've done a visual check of the capacitors on the other side and they all look okay. We know the deck works well, so I'm happy with that. But like I say, this will need to be really tested thoroughly. I usually test decks for about 20 hours. Some of those 20 hours involve or include recording as well. So I usually record like an L750 tape's worth of footage and play it back, check it's okay, and yeah, it's the way to go to make sure these machines are reliable. But this one, because of the fact that it's obviously been in quite a bit of moisture in its life, will need a lot more checking and repairs too, no doubt. So that will happen. But yeah, it's looking good. It's I mean, these are amazingly rugged machines, and the picture quality is good. It sort of certainly beats VHS machines at the time, but yeah, it's I'm really very pleased with this machine, even though it's had a hard life, albeit only from being in storage. So yeah, really cool. So after all that, let's give it a go. So fast forward, working much better. Rewind. Perfect. Play. You can see the magnetic leader. And yeah, the beginning of this tape isn't too good, but you can see it's actually really good. Let's check I think it's going to go a bit crazy in a minute. But that's tracking right to the left. And then right the way to the right side. We have got a little bit of a tracking line there. Although bearing in mind I've still not actually cleaned or serviced the tape path, so yeah. Let's just see if we can adjust that slightly better. Yeah, so I've just adjusted the head height. Has this been played with, I wonder? It feels like that's been played with as well. You can usually tell, because they have varnish in them, if you just do a gentle turn, if they turn with just a gentle amount of pressure, you know they've been fiddled with. You can't always tell from the varnish. But yeah, just adjusted that ever so slightly out. Yeah, it's Brit Awards again. That's not too bad. It does need a full alignment, but yeah, that will happen. And like I say, it needs a long test. It needs hours of testing to really make sure it is reliable. But I'm really pleased with that. It's a great machine. So worth saving. I'll do something with that base cabinet panel as well. And yeah, really pleased with it. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Lots more videos to come, various betas, and I've got a few VHS machines coming along as well. Some Panasonics, TV16s as well, but they're a while off yet. So do subscribe so you don't miss those. More HF 950s. I've got a Toshiba V8 8700. Yes, 8700. And lots of other bits and pieces as well, including DVD based camcorders. So lots of varied content to come. So please do like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in another video. Bye for now.